Morning show here on your information station and brought to you by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first and landmark of Taylorville. I'm your host, Grayson Bauman. Joining us in this segment, I've got Andrew Holsinger. Andrew is a horticulture educator with the University of Illinois Extension. Andrew, good morning, sir. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good.
I'm glad to hear it. And thank you for joining us by phone here today. If folks might not know, but you make the trek oftentimes to come see us here in person, and I do appreciate that every time. But I'm glad to see today maybe we can come to you here. We'll meet you in the middle almost.
Right.
So Andrew, it's great to have you here. And today you wanted to tell us a little bit about a community tree series, tree care series that you've got coming up. What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, tree care is kind of a year-round effort, but this tree care series is going to be a webinar series. It's going to have two main topics per date. There's several sessions, actually 6 webinar sessions, and they'll be recorded, and the recordings will be made available after the fact. The cost for this is pretty minimal for the information that you get. If you're just wanting the general access to all the sessions, it's going to be $10. But if you're an arborist and looking for continuing education credits, the cost is going to be $50. So that continuing education per session is going to be available. You know, it's certified arborist, the Illinois Arborist Association qualifications there. You'll have to attend to get the credit, and you got to attend the live sessions to receive those CEUs. So, but quite a good lineup starting here right around the corner on January 13th with trees for pollinators and evergreen ID, and good list of speakers, some fellow horticulture educators. We have Emily Swihart for that first session and Sarah Vogel. They're going to be talking about pollinators and that evergreen tree identification. So quite a nice webinar there.
Okay. And that kind of gets things started for you. And you mentioned to us that's on January 13th. One quick question for you. You said $10 to access all the sessions, but the way they're laid out, they're pre-recorded and then they're kind of dropped to you on that date, and then you have the full week to actually go ahead and listen in to the seminar and learn about it. Is that kind of how that is going?
Well, I believe that they're live. They're going to be live sessions, and then after they'll be recorded as they're going on, and then after they've completed those webinars will be edited, closed captioned, and put out there for you to look at and use as a reference for a duration of time.
Okay. So, and the chance then as an arborist or, as part of the Illinois Arborist Association to then get some continuing education credits as well. Not a bad deal there. So we start January 13th with trees for pollinators and evergreen ID. What's quite going on with that? You mentioned the speakers there, but is this kind of setting the start or setting the foundation for the series moving forward?
Yeah, I would think so. These sessions are going to be from 9 to 11, give quite a bit of time frame. The sessions have various components, for the arborist and even the homeowner. Whenever it comes to caring for trees, it's good to know what you're dealing with. So that evergreen identification, how they function in the landscape, that's going to be important whenever you're diagnosing, trying to find out, usually our diseases and insect pests are pretty particular for certain species, and we can identify the species, we can have a better clue of what possible problems they may have. So that's very beneficial. And trees in general are great habitat for pollinators. We have a number of caterpillars and other wildlife, the birds and insects, that ecosystem is developed. And so you'll be able to learn more about how possibly to enhance some of your neighborhoods, public spaces with those trees with pollinator benefits, increasing the habitat for those pollinators.
Well, Andrew, it sounds like a great way to start off your 2026 tree care webinar and that schedule that goes along with it. They're weekly sessions. We got 6 total of them. We just talked about the first that's coming up on January 13th. And a week later, we've got another. What's coming up after that?
On January 20th, it's forest health updates and fungal mutualists. So, forest pest updates. There's always a different pest that's seemingly coming around. We've had the emerald ash borer in the past, and there's always possibilities of invasive pests. But then we have pests that are here with us, but looking for early detection to be the best defense against those invasive species, knowing what to look for, keep it ahead of the game. That's going to be important. Tricia from the Morton Arboretum is a forest pest outreach coordinator, and she'll be the presenter for that. And then fungal mutualist. This is going to give you the good guys of fungal infections, because not all fungal infections are bad. There's a necessary part to fungal partnerships that interact with the tree and the ecosystem, and that's Carla Griesbaum, and she's a Illinois Extension Environmental and Energy Stewardship educator, and so that's going to be beneficial to learn about some of those fungal infections and how they may interact with the trees.
Well, it's interesting and I was wondering what exactly was meant by a fungal mutualist in there, but interesting to know that actually some plants or trees in this case might actually really take to them, and there's a cohesive partnership almost. If I could remember exactly what they meant by, or what I was taught in school, what that is called off the top of my head, I would tell you, but I cannot remember. But fungal mutualists there, that sounds like an interesting piece to kind of dive into. Is that something that you could kind of expand on and help me understand a little better?
Well, I know there's mycorrhizae that are in the soil, and there's interactions there, and it helps with the uptake into the root system, and there's a whole dynamic under the soil that we don't see, but those fungi are there interacting with the tree, and you don't see it, but when they are there and present, you have their benefits.
Okay, interesting. It's just a new word, I guess, to me. A fungal mutualist, I guess, 2 words, but it just a cool piece to be talking about in that second segment. So we go from January 13th to the 20th here, and now we've got something coming up just right after that, week on, week out. What is the third segment, the third seminar that's scheduled coming up?
Construction and urban soils. So protecting trees during construction, the expanse of the roots that are underground. If you're not thinking ahead of time, say you have a construction project, there can be significant losses to the root systems if the trees aren't protected or thought of with that canopy above ground. We also have the canopy below ground, and so protecting those root systems and the overall health of the tree, planning for that is important. And then we'll have addressing urban soils for healthier trees. In some context, whenever you have an urban soil, that can impact your tree health. And usually we have more compacted soils, soils that are lower in nutrients, maybe a poorly structured soil. You might find this in your downtown areas whenever you're trying to create some green space in a community. That can help to attract businesses, but mitigating that urban environment with trees can be a challenge. So that's what's on for our third session.
Okay, and help me, if you would, understand that urban soils piece a little bit better. Obviously, everybody has heard or has probably known that Illinois sits on some of the best soil in maybe all of the world. Is it simply the fact that in an urban area this has not been one really used in terms of either planting or trees or anything like that? Is it simply because a lot of that dirt that's been used has maybe been sat upon? What is the reason maybe urban soil in an area might be just that much worse than something just outside of a town or city limits?
Well, in your comment there, I think a lot of times we think of the topsoil and that uh, you know tremendous growth that we have in Illinois, but often in construction sites we may not have that topsoil. We may have some subsoil or soil that's brought into an environment. And so just having a knowledge of what the soil is, what you're dealing with whenever you're working with trees can be an important component, for the health of the tree. Maybe having some soil modification strategies. You're going to, have maybe drainage issues if it's in an urban environment. So thinking about those things in that context can help you to manage your trees a little bit better.
Okay, could be a slew of issues, and I figured as much. But that is why, in the third session or seminar that is coming up as part of this tree care workshop, construction and urban soils on January 27th, learn about a little bit more about protecting trees during construction, whether you're expanding or whatever you might be doing, and then addressing those urban soil maybe difficulties that might come with those. Well, Andrew, let's take ourselves a break. We're joined by Andrew Holsinger, horticulture educator with the University of Illinois Extension. We're talking about their community tree care series that is coming up right around the corner. You're listening to WTIM, your information station.
WTIM.
You're listening to the WTIM Morning Show here on your information station and brought to you by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first and Landmark of Taylorville. I'm your host, Grayson Bauman. Joining us, we've got Andrew Holsinger. Andrew is a horticulture educator with the University of Illinois Extension. We're talking about the Community Tree Care Series that they'll have coming up starting on January 13th. We talked session 1, 2, and 3. We're turning our attention now to session number 4. Andrew, when is session number 4 and what do we have going on?
February 3rd, it's going to be chainsaw safety and pruning young shade trees. So a lot to think about whenever it comes to safety and using a chainsaw. So there'll be kind of some visual examples and keeping you safe in the process of cutting down a tree, using a chainsaw, and then pruning young shade trees. There's a lot to think about on the establishment of a tree, but putting it into the right context whenever you're pruning it. Make sure that the canopy is developing just the way that it should.
Okay, so this seems like a good time for it because as you've helped me understand in the last year plus, we're coming up on the time to actually get some of those trees in the ground or start to even consider what we're going to do with new plants and things like that. So considering that we're talking about pruning some of those young shade trees that we might already have, that maintenance and keeping up with that. So that's a look at February 3rd with chainsaw safety and pruning young trees. But that is certainly far from all. We still have 2 more sessions to get to. What's going on with the very next?
February 10th, we'll have changing climate and historic pests. So changing climate, there's a lot of impacts and strategies to think about. We were talking over the break about the Illinois Drought Monitor and looking to see how dry it is out there. We'll have our Illinois Extension Specialist in Forestry, Justin Vozo. He's going to be covering this session on climate change and those impacts that can affect your trees. And so it'll be a good session there. And then we also have historic forest pest outbreaks that have occurred in North America. And the presenter for that is fellow horticulture educator Ryan Pankow.
Okay, so forest pest outbreaks in North America. You mentioned to us that some are kind of invasive or like brought in almost, and others are obviously natural to our area, or this is where they lie. And so either way, knowing what's going on here with those pests, good deal there. And probably happy to highlight another horticulture educator as well is Andrew Holsinger. However, we have one more session coming up and we've got just a little bit more time to tell you about it. How do we wrap things up for this series?
Well, it's going to be on February 17th after planting and tree responses. So how to take care of that tree after it's been planted, how to have the best success in planting. That's going to be presented by Emily Swihart. And then we'll have branch management, tree responses to cultural practices, how trees react to pruning, planting, environmental stresses. That's going to be by Sarah Vogel. So all of these sessions, part of the Community Tree Care series, webinar series, registration's available online. It's pretty easy to get to. And, think about the value you get for anywhere from $10 if you're just wanting some continuing education. But if you want continuing education credit, $50, but still a real good value for this program that's available through University of Illinois Extension.
I'd say 6 hours, 12 hours of content against 6 scheduled days, week in, week out, coming up on January 13th. Well, Andrew, thanks for joining us here today. Good luck with all the stuff you got to wrap up here at the start of the year.
All right, thanks.
Andrew Holsinger, horticulture educator with the University of Illinois Extension, here on WTIM.